Hey guys, welcome back to Michelle's STEM Journey. I am Michelle and I am here today with the fourth video in this series called Swift and Xcode. In today's video, we will be exploring arrays, dictionaries, as well as conditionals. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. Hey guys, welcome to video 4 in the series Swift and Xcode, and today we will be talking about conditionals, arrays, and dictionaries. So what are arrays? An array in Swift is a data type used to store an ordered collection of values. It can be stored in one variable and can store any type of data. However, one array can only store items of the same data type. And so this is an example of an array. An array is indicated using square brackets. In this example, the array is stored in a variable called ice cream flavors, and the values of the array are all strings. So here we have a variable, ice cream flavors, and then we use the square brackets, and then we just listed off the flavors, so chocolate, vanilla, strawberry, and yes, they are all strings. So if you added a number in there, an integer in there, it would give you an error if you tried running the program. And so we actually see arrays in everyday life. For example, if you go on Instagram and you look at your following or followers list, those are all just a list, an array of users that you follow or follow you. And so arrays come in really handy when you just want to store a lot of values or strings that are all the same data type, and you might want to store them into a variable that you can call later on instead of having to type out each and every string or value that you put into the array. And now moving on to dictionaries. A dictionary in Swift is a collection type that stores associations between keys of a specified type and values of another specified type. Each value is associated with a unique key, and this allows you to efficiently retrieve, insert, and update values based on their corresponding keys. So this might be a little confusing, but looking at this example here, we see that we have a variable called student grades, and then dictionaries, we also use square brackets in Swift. We have a string called Alice in double quotes, and then outside of the double quotes we have a colon, and then we have a number 90, and then a comma, and then that same kind of setup, but with different names and different numbers, of course, over and over again. And so whenever we talk about dictionaries, we always have a key and a value. The key is the part before the colon. So in the previous example, Alice, Bob, and Charlie are the keys. And then the value is the part after the colon, and it holds the value that corresponds to each key. In the previous example, 90, 85, and 95 are all values. So these are keys, and then the corresponding numbers would be the values. And this comes in really handy when, for example, you can just think of it as someone, for example, a cashier, taking up people's orders during rush hour. So a lot of people come in, and then the cashier would keep track of the person's name and then the order that they got. And so it's kind of like dictionaries where each person, this is their names, and then the values associated with that name. And then we can go to Replit to practice. So here we have the dictionary, and so this is already kind of self-explanatory, but if we wanted to update the value to a key, then we can just do dictionary. This is when we call the dictionary, and then we use square brackets. And then what if we wanted to update Bob's grade? Then we would type in Bob, and then set that equal to, originally it was 85, now we want to change it to 100. So we are calling for Bob, so that is the key that we want to update, and then we set it to a new number. And then we can print dictionary. Okay, and gives us the dictionary, and we have Bob updated to 100. And then we can also add new keys and values to a dictionary. Okay, so I'm just going to comment this out, and then if we want to add another set of key and value, we can go ahead and type in dictionary again, and then use square brackets, and then add the key that we want to add. So in this case, I added my name Michelle, and then I set that equal to 97. So this would be the value associated with that. And then we can do print dictionary. And here we see that we have added Michelle into the dictionary. So these are just some of the things that you can mess around with dictionary. But going back, let's talk about conditionals. A conditional in Swift is a construct that allows you to execute different pieces of code based on certain conditions, the most common one being if-else condition. So the if-else conditional evaluates Boolean expressions to determine which blocks of code to execute. If the condition evaluates to true, then it will run the block of code below it. Else, if the condition evaluates to false, it will ignore the block of code below it and execute the next condition. So here we have a variable called temperature equal to 45. And then here is the if-else conditional. If the temperature is greater than 70, then it will print out it's warm outside. Else, it will print out it's cold outside. And make sure to be careful with the syntax here. Once you do an if, you have to put these brackets, print out or write whatever code you want to execute if this condition is true, and then make sure to close the bracket, and then you can have your else statement, and then open a bracket and then close the bracket. And so if I run this program, then it should print out it's cold outside, because the program went through the if-else and saw that the temperature that we set with the variable, which was 45, it was not greater than 70. So it ignored this print statement and moved on to print it's cold outside. And then we also have the if, else if, and else. So this conditional is a little more complicated and more specific than the if-else conditional. It is exactly what it sounds like. If checks a condition and executes the code inside the braces if the condition is true. Else if provides an additional condition by checking if the previous if condition is false. It will execute the code inside the braces if its condition is true. Else will execute if all previous if and else if conditions are false. So basically it kind of just goes down the list. So we see the temperature is 45, it is not greater than 70, so ignores this. And then goes to else if. Else, if the temperature here, which is 45, is greater than 50, it will print out this, but we see that it's not. So it will also ignore this print statement and go to the final else, which we see that it will print out it's cold outside because it does not meet any of the previous statements. And so if you've noticed in the previous examples, we used the greater sign in the conditional. This is an example of a comparison. There are many different comparison operators to know. So we have double equal signs, this is equal to, exclamation mark equal sign is not equal to, greater than, less than, and then greater than or equal to is this symbol, less than or equal to is the less than sign with the equal sign. And so keep in mind that the equal to operator, which uses two equal signs, checks if two values are equal to each other, while the assignment operator, which is one equal sign, assigns a value to a variable. So if you wanted to, for example, go back to this, instead of if the temperature is greater than 70, if we wanted to check if it was equal to 70, we would put if temperature is equal with the two equal signs, 70. If we only put one equal sign, will give us an error because we see that one equal sign is used to assign a value to a variable. And that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in next week's video.